Hello there and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm excited to be doing a review on two holiday sets from Tarte. I'm going to be reviewing the 3 eyeshadow palettes that come in a set and also the 3 cheek, they're calling them cheek wardrobes that come also in a set together. So as we get started, I'm going to talk a little bit about the packaging. I will show you swatches. We'll talk about the formulation. I'm also going to do a little bit of some comparisons between some of the things that Tarte has in their current line. And then I am going to show you a demo of these products to create this look. So let's get started. All right, we're going to start off with the cheek wardrobe. It comes in a box like this, and there are 3 cheek cubes. We'll call them cubes. Each one has 3 different shades, and they all have different finishes. So this is what each of the cubes looks like. So it folds up into this nice compact cube, and then you do lift the lid to get to the lid, but in order to get to the rest of the blushes you just need to twist. So you're not going to pull them up, they twist. But it's kind of a fun little thing. If you've got little ones, they'll probably enjoy playing with this. But each one is filled with different shades and different finishes. Now this one contains the 3 shades Yours Truly, Into You, and Playtime. And as I show you each one, I'll show you swatches as well. So this one has just one. This one has shimmer, and then these 2 are pretty much matte shades. And all of the shades in this collection are limited edition shades, so you're not going to be getting any repeats from their permanent collection. The next one, this one has Frosted Frappe, Sweet Cheeks, and Sugar and Spice. This one I feel like is a little more, well, the highlight shade's a little bit deeper, but the other 2 blush shades are very neutral. So I think this is going to be a great cheek for kind of more the neutral, when you want to keep things neutral because maybe you've done something crazy on the eyes, or you want kind of that summery bronzy look. This would be a great one. And then last has been my favorite go-to so far. It's the one with the gold, because it is to me a complete cheek all-in-one. This one actually has kind of this gold champagne highlighter, a very neutral matte blush, and then a very soft, more of a satin finish bronzer. And those shades are Let It Glow, I'm Smitten, and Getting Toasty. So as we went through each one of those would be something you can see they are very different. So if you chose to keep them, I think you would get use out of all of them. But it also kind of helps you if you have friends with varying skin tones or just different likes and dislikes of colors. I think there's something for everybody in here. Now this kit retails for $35, so that makes each one of them less than $12 each. So that's a perfect giftable amount if you're planning to give this away. All right, moving on to my favorite is the 3 eyeshadow palettes. So this is how they come. They come in a tray and they're stacked on each other. Now, when I first saw this, I was like, wait, what did they do? Because I recognized the covers of these 2 palettes right here. They're a little bit reflective. And I thought, wait, they have the Tartelette in Bloom palette. They have the Tartelette Toasted. I did not own the Tartelette Toasted, but had been contemplating buying it. And so I thought, oh, this is the perfect opportunity. So I snatched this up. But then they included a 3rd palette. So all of these are called Lil, as in little, and this is the Lil Juicy, Lil Bloom, and Lil Toasted. So in each one of these is 9 shadows. So I will show you in a moment the comparison to their full-size tartlets. Their full-size tartlets have 12 shadows, so these just have 9. But what they did is they have only repeated 6 shades. The rest of them are brand new shades. But each of these palettes are kind of in the same theme as the full-size version. So Tartelette Toasted, again, I don't have the full size to compare, but the top 3 shades here are the ones that would be the same from the Tartelette Toasted full size palette, but all the rest are new shades. So I'm going to pop up on the screen swatches of each of these. Now these do have that nice subtle sweet scent, and I found that each of these in this palette seem to be very smooth overall. I'll talk about texture as we go along, but the textures in this palette all seem to be pretty smooth. This one maybe had a little tiny bit of grit, but that was it. The next one was the Tartelette Lil Bloom palette. Now I have the full-size Tartelette in Bloom, and let me just show you side by side comparison. Here we go. And so this is the full size with the 12 shadows. Now the only repeats in this palette are these top 3 shadows. Now I'll show you swatches of this whole palette first. And as I was swatching these all seem to be pretty good. This one again was just a little bit dry, a little bit gritty, but overall they swatched well, and you'll see in a moment as I do my demo. I do use shadows from each of these palettes and they all perform well, but as you touch them, as you swatch them, you will notice some variations in how they feel. But this one is a much more neutral, you're going to get lighter looks overall, but they did ground it with that really deep brown. Now I'm going to show you comparison swatches of these 3 shades with the 3 shades that are the same name from this palette. The ones from the Tartelette in Bloom palette, these definitely do have a different feel and texture. They are smoother, and I think the shades are different. As you see them side by side, I think there are differences. Even though they look very similar, they are, let's see, these 2 shades and this one, they look very similar in the pan. They look very similar, they're same name, but there are some differences. So I could see that. So the good news is, if you already own this, you pretty much are getting 9 different shadows, so you don't have to worry about too much overlap. All right, then we get to the final palette, and when I saw this one, this is what sealed the deal in me getting this set, and it's the Lil Juicy palette. Look at those shades. Yeah, that's mostly what I've got on my eyes today, but I did mix in others. You know me, these are my kind of shades. But I was so excited because in reading the description, it gave kind of some hints as to the possibility that they might be coming out with a full-size version of this kind of formulation in another tartlet. So we shall see about that. I've not heard anything official, but on their website, they kind of give some little hints as to that possibility. But the textures in this palette in particular seem to be the driest. So that was why I wanted to demo a lot of shades from here, because in swatching, especially the first time, I thought, oh no, these might not work. But in performance, they perform well. So here's just what I know from hearing Marlena from Makeup Geek talk about formulation of shadows, especially these deep kind of cranberry red shades. These are a difficult formulation, and what I'm learning is I think they're a difficult formulation if you stay within the rules of the US FDA, what they have approved for use on the eyes. So what has become a common trend in eyeshadow palettes, there's a number of companies doing this. They'll release a palette like this and they'll call it a pressed pigment palette because they have put dyes into certain eyeshadows that are not approved for use around the eye area. But it allows them to use different ingredients that make shadows feel more silky and smooth. So it's kind of like this catch-22. I think companies are being pressured to make their eyeshadow formulas feel more buttery and soft and smooth and perform amazingly well. But in order to do that, they are putting in dyes that aren't approved. So just be cautious of that, but I'm happy to say Tarte did not do that. So I think that might be one reason why some of these shadows are not quite as silky smooth, because they are just that beautiful. I mean, they're pigmented, no doubt. But they are just that really bright kind of cranberry shade. So that's just something to be aware of. Now, in speaking of formulation, I am happy to report that Tarte did something that I don't think they've done in a while. They have received a little bit of flack for when they put out their huge bulky holiday eyeshadow palettes, you know, that have drawers and pop out things. I haven't purchased any of those, but I've noticed that many times those kits are made out of the country, not in the USA. However, most of their main palettes and their blushes are made in the USA. But I'm happy to report all of the eyeshadow palettes are made in the USA. However, their blush palettes, they are made in Taiwan, which is different than their Amazonian clay blushes. So the clay blushes in here, they are still calling them Amazonian clay blushes. You will feel a difference in texture between those and their traditional ones that are made in the USA. So I think I haven't compared, you know, it's hard to compare ingredient to ingredient because there's different colors in each one, but I don't know, I kind of think about it like if you have a favorite family recipe and Aunt Linda makes it best, but Aunt Vera tries to make it and it doesn't taste the same, even though they're using the same ingredients. I don't know. Maybe that's what's happened here. Different factory kind of making different things. That could be also true with the eyeshadow palettes. You know, the difference in texture from this one to the full size one, you will feel a difference. However, I felt like these have performed just as well. So the pricing on the eyeshadow palettes, this is $49 for 3. So just slightly over $16 a piece. As they say on the side, Tartelette, give, gift, and get. So again, if you are looking to build up your collection, or maybe there's one of the palettes in here that you're like, oh, that belongs to me, but I can gift the others, I think this is a great way to do that. So as always, I will leave links to these down below. They are available at Ulta, Sephora, and on the Tarte website, at least at this point. So I'll leave links to those, but let's go ahead and get into the demo of this look and you can see how these perform. For primer today, I used the Smashbox 24-hour eyeshadow primer, and now I'm going to go in with a mix of the 3 palettes. So first I'm going to start with the Lil Toasted palette, and I'm going to use this cream shade. This is my favorite of the 3 for my brow bone highlight, with my little bit of kind of sunless tanner on. I feel like this shade has a little bit of maybe a hint of a pearl finish, but not too much. But it's brightening, not too brightening. Okay, so I'm going to use primarily this palette for the look. I'll dab into the other palette as well, but this is the Little Juicy palette. This is the one with all new colors we've never seen before. I'm going to go into this shade right here, and in the swatch, this is one that swatches a little kind of patchy, but you'll see as it applies, especially over the eyeshadow primer, it applies just fine. So that's what I was saying earlier. Some of these did not swatch well, but in application on the eyes, they have performed just fine. So don't let the swatches throw you. And I'm just using the 201 from BK Beauty to kind of put that above the crease, blend up into that brow bone highlight shade just a little bit. And then I am going to go into the Tartelette Lil Bloom, that's hard for me to say. I'm going to go into this shade right here, which is Sweetheart. I should be telling you the names. And I'm going to use this kind of on the outside of that pink color because I don't want my crease to get too bright. I do have an appointment this afternoon, so This is still going to be a fun kind of berry look, I think. But I'm just gonna take that, and you can see that also blended very well. Just kind of helped neutralize the pink in the crease. Now going back to this palette, I am going to do this shade first, so I can show you this one. This is another one that you do need to tap off. These are a little bit dusty, but this is another one that did not swatch well. So I want to show you how it applies. And I have used this and it's lasted all day. Again, of course, I always use an eyeshadow primer, but you can see very little effort to build that color up. So I think these shadows actually perform very well. There we go. I'm gonna clean off that brush and now go in with a little bit of this one. This is kind of that dusty plum color, a little bit deeper than this shade. And I'm going to take this lower in the outer corner and just deepen that outermost edge just slightly. And I love the depth that this adds to that berry shade. All right, we're gonna go in first with this shade right here. This is Dream Chaser, and this is the deeper of the two kind of shimmery berry colors. I'm gonna take a little bit of that, just kind of from where those matte shadows stop towards the center of the lid. Then I'm gonna go in with this shade from the Bloom palette, and that is Funny Girl. And I'm going to take this kind of on the inner part of the lid and kind of blend it towards the center. And then we're going to add one more color kind of where those two shadows meet. As you can see, this is a pretty gold shade. And so then I'm gonna go in, I think we'll go in with this shade right here, which is one of my favorites in this palette. It's Adventurer. And I'm gonna wipe off my finger, and I'm just gonna tap that over kind of that gold and in the center, and just create kind of a nice kind of gradation of color there, and it just adds a little coolness and a little kind of shift from that gold and the pink into those outer corner colors. Ooh, really like that. Okay, and one final step, can't let this palette feel neglected. I'm gonna go in with just a touch of this kind of warm tan color, and I'm going to use this just right here on the inner part, and then just kind of brush up the top of the crease. Really light pressure because these are pigmented. And I don't want to change the berry tone. I just wanted to add a tiny little bit of warmth as we go towards the brow bone highlight in the crease. Oh yeah, I like that. Kind of helps tie in that gold, kind of gold tones on the lid. So yeah. And I'm gonna go back with just a hint more of, from the Bloom palette, this guy. And if you feel like you need to bring that berry shade up a little bit, this is something I often do with hooded eyes, kind of look straight ahead and maybe go back and add a tiny little bit of that brighter berry shade just right here so we can see that beautiful color. All right, for liner, I'm going to use the Persona Plum liner. This is the 24-hour waterproof eye pencil. This is more of a reddish plum shade, so not a blue purple, more of a red purple. Just putting that on the lower lash line, about halfway across. And then I'm going to take this on the upper lash line, just really close to the roots of the lashes. Smudge that in there. Okay, and right over the top of that, I'm going to go into the Toasted palette and this brown. I think this has a little more berry in it than the dark brown in the Bloom one. So I'm just going to kind of tap right on the edge and give myself just a tiny little bit of a flick right there. And you can see how pigmented that is. And then I'm just going to press that into the lashes. And then I'll use a little bit of that under the lower lash line, just right here in the outer corner. And then I'm going to add just a tiny little bit of this kind of dusty plum shade, the lighter one, just to kind of help fade that lower lash line. I apologize for the lighting change. We have cloudy skies today for the first time in a long time. So anyway, we're gonna bear with it. So I'm gonna go in first to the one that has the gold cover. Yes, lots of fingerprints. And this is the one that has the bronzer, the blush, and the highlight. So I'm gonna go ahead and use the bronzer and the highlight in here, but I'm gonna use a blush from one of the other palettes. So I'm just using the BK Beauty 103, putting this kind of on the tops of the cheeks. I did add a little bit of contour because this bronzer has a slight little bit of a sheen. It's not overly, you know, it's not chunky glitter or anything, but it does give a little bit of glow. It's very nice, very buildable. It's pigmented, but not scary pigmented. So I feel like you can get a nice buildable layer with that. And then let's go ahead and use the highlight now. You can do your cheeks in different order, it's okay. So I'm gonna use the MAC fan brush, put a little bit of that on the tops of the cheeks, bridge of the nose, Cupid's bow. And then I'll just use a little bit of that on the inner corner. So I always go back and add a little more highlight there, so we might as well. I'll use the Sigma E30 just to kind of blend that in. It's very similar to that gold lid shade, but just a tad bit brighter. Now you could definitely use this blush. This has been my favorite go-to. It's a very neutral color, but I want to go into this one that has kind of the purpley metallic color, lid color, and I'm going to go in with this one. Let's just see how bright this is. I'm going to use the BK Beauty 104. Let's just go lightly, a little bit of kick up for sure, but not too bad. So not overly bright, but it is pigmented, so definitely tapping the brush off. That's really nice. A nice kind of brighter cheek color for sure. And then I think I'll go back with my bronzer brush. Just kind of blend that together. All right, so here's our finished look. I just added one of the Tarte lipsticks. This is Beach Babe, just a nice nude pink color. I think it goes well with the rest of the look. But overall, hopefully that helped you seeing these eyeshadows and the blushes perform. As I mentioned earlier, I do feel like there is a difference in formulation between both the blushes and the eyeshadows from their regular line, but I do feel like these holiday gift sets perform quite well and would be great whether you are somebody who's trying to build up your makeup collection or you are looking for a great way to gift your friends who love makeup, give them something new and fun for Christmas or the holidays or birthdays or whatever. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.